Straight all day.
You're now tuned into the show where you learn the discipline to show up day after day to do the work, the confidence to put yourself out there boldly and authentically, and the mental toughness to continue showing up, doing the work, putting yourself out there even when the success you've expected to achieve has yet to be achieved. And on top of all this, you get a huge dose of personal initiative. That is the go-getter energy that moves any one of us, including yourself, to go and make things happen instead of wait for things to happen. And then we put all this together into a series of frameworks, approaches, insights, strategies, and techniques, all underneath the umbrella of one unifying philosophy that is called work on your game. My name is Baldwin, also known as Dre All Day, and welcome to the show. And today's topic is eat the meat and spit out the bones. This is a metaphor, but it's probably something you should probably follow as well. You probably shouldn't try to eat bones. You probably might choke and die. But anyway, it is a metaphor. I'll explain that in a minute. But before we get to that, let me tell you about it. I have a daily or weekly, depending on when it is you're listening to this, motivation text message that I send out on a regular basis, consistently, however, whatever the frequency, it is consistent, straight to everyone who is in my text community. If you would like to receive this message that is guaranteed, let me tell you what it's going to do. It's going to keep you focused, sharp, and on point. If you want this message, all you got to do is raise your hand by texting me at my number to let me know you want it. My number is 305-384-6894. So every time I send that message, whether it's once a week, twice a week, every day, whatever it is, you'll be getting it every time I send it out. Just text me at my number. The number is listed down below in the show notes. So let's get into the topic. Now, this concept, eat the meat and spit out the bones, is a metaphor that I thought of one Saturday morning when I was running. Now, I like to run now. My background's in sports, but since I stopped playing basketball, since I stopped playing basketball, I like to run. I've run like 10Ks, I run a couple marathons, half marathons, etc. And I run 3 times a week, usually down here in Miami. And Saturday's my longest run. I do a certain distance on Tuesdays and Thursdays, usually Tuesdays and Thursdays. Then on Saturdays, I do a run that's a little bit longer than that. So one particular Saturday morning, I was running, and while I'm running, usually I'm listening to music. Almost actually every time I'm listening to music. And I listen to music that many of you would categorize as gangsta rap music. Now, objectively, following the message that's in gangsta rap music. Now, I'm 40 years old, so I grew up in the 90s, going into the early 2000s. That's when I was listening to a lot of this stuff. These days, I don't listen to a lot of newer folks. So anybody who's out from the 90s through like 2014-ish, I'm familiar with most of them. A lot of the newer people I'm not that familiar with. But anyway, any of you who knows anything about this music and you can objectively look at it, even if you're a fan of it, which I am, this music is coursing through my veins. I'm not just a fan, it's in me. Anybody who can look at this music objectively knows that if you follow the message in the music, I mean, I'm not saying listen to the message. If you follow the message, meaning you listen to it and then you go out and you try to live what is being said on these songs, you can get yourself murdered or incarcerated. Now, as a fan of the genre, I can even admit this. Now, a lot of people who are fans of music who can't think objectively, they don't even like hearing somebody like me say that, but it's 100% true. Because just listen to what they're saying. All right? Could most people go out and do these things that these rappers are rapping about and live to talk about it? No. Or they be in jail talking about it. The reason that I can listen to it, however, and not become a product of the music is because I follow the principles I'm going to share with you today, which is eating the meat and spitting out the bones. So I'm just using that to frame this conversation. So let's get right into it. Point number 1. Topic, once again, is eat the meat and spit out the bones. You need not fully agree with 100% of a person, place, thing, idea, or ideology to be a fan, supporter, or to extract value from that entity. Should I say that again? Let me say it again. You need not fully agree with 100% of anything that a person, place, thing, idea, or ideology shares in order to still be a fan of that person, place, thing, to support them, or to extract value from them. You don't have to agree with 100% of somebody to get value from them. If you look deep enough into anything that is outside of yourself, you will realize it's virtually impossible to agree with 100% of anything that another person has created. All right. If you talk to any human being for long enough or read into anything deeply enough, it's inevitable you're going to find something that you don't fully agree with. All right, this is just because we're all unique. All right, every human being is made differently, right? What I'm saying is you should not outright reject something just because you find one thing or even 10 things that you disagree with. Before you know it, you're going to run out of things from which to draw anything if you reject anything that you find one thing that you don't like. All right, take the parts that work for you and discard everything else. All right, this is exactly what I do when I'm listening to this gangsta rap music that's talking about selling drugs and killing people and being disrespectful towards people and the kind of things that would destroy neighborhoods. I can listen to that music and use it for my purposes, which it gives me energy while I'm on my workout. But when the workout is over, I don't go out and try to do the stuff that the rappers are rapping about. I can extract the meat and spit out the bones. All right, you follow what I'm saying here? This is what smart people are capable of doing. In episode 1232, for example, I used a very polarizing figure and did this exact thing. I told you some things that you can learn from President Donald Trump. This is when he was president, back in episode 1232, when I recorded this episode. One of the things that I said in that episode is something that I have found in my experience, because I talk to a lot of people, I listen to a lot of people, I hear a lot of people's challenges every single day. One thing that I told people in that episode that everyone can learn from Donald Trump, President Donald Trump, or TV guy Donald Trump, is that the guy is virtually immune to criticism. He does not get slowed down when he's criticized. He does not get hurt when he's criticized, and he does not get thrown off course mentally when he's criticized, or someone disagrees with him, or someone attacks him, or somebody sues him, or there's a whole faction of people who demonstrate against him. None of it slows him down from his process and what he's doing. I think, and I said back in episode 1232, I will say it again here today, 99% of people can learn a lot just from that one principle. And it's 100% true of Donald Trump. President Donald Trump, TV guy Donald Trump, whatever you want to call him, all right? Whatever label you want to put on the guy, is 100% true of him, that he does not get slowed down when people criticize him. Even a whole bunch of people criticize him. Whereas, in my experience, in working with a lot of different people, a lot of people get slowed down a lot, virtually stopped when they get criticized by another person. Many people could benefit from that principle. But here's the problem. It was the problem then, it's still the problem now. So many people are so emotionally triggered by the mention of the man's name that they refuse to take anything that comes from him that could possibly benefit them, not because it won't help you, but because his name is attached to it. Oh, I don't want to hear it because it got his name attached to it. All right, that's stupid. That's a stupid way of thinking. See, I've explained the difference between ignorance and stupidity. Ignorance is when you don't know something and you do the wrong thing. All right, it's okay to be ignorant because I have a baby. Babies are ignorant. They just don't know stuff. See, stupid is when you know better and then you do the wrong thing anyway. All right, it's stupid to reject something just because you don't like the person that it came from, even though it could help you. So you're going to reject it just because you want to serve your ego. All right, your ego can get in the way of your success. All right, I have an episode where I talked about that. Let me tell you what episode that was. Because see, what I got to understand is everything that I talk about here on this show, I've gone over these topics in many different ways from different angles. So I want to make sure you all get it. Episode 1523, check your ego at the door. Episode 1353, prioritizing success over ego. And there are many times that people put their ego in front of their success, and it's costing you a lot. All right, and when you put your ego in front of your success, you may end up costing yourself opportunity and not even know that you're doing it. America, for example, is a country. As a country, America has some black marks on its resume. Can we all agree to that? That America is not perfect? But those of you who are American listening to the show, you still live here though, right? All right, even though you know America is not perfect, you still live here, right? You still pay taxes to America, right? Okay, even if you don't pay your taxes, every time you buy something and there's tax, or you pay taxes. Okay, you still value the freedom you have here, even though America is not perfect, right? You still value that freedom and your right to say whatever you want to say, right? All right, you don't have plans to move out of America, do you? Okay, so even though America is not perfect and you agree that it's not perfect, you still value the things that you get from it. Okay, so you're already doing this. I'm just asking you to do it more intentionally and do it with more things because it will help you achieve success. Let's get, so I'm out of the America example. Let's take it to you. All of us are flawed human beings. Every single one of us has flaws. All of us. If everybody in the world knew everything, we all got some black marks on our resumes that maybe we don't want to make public information. Let me ask you a question. Should you be completely rejected by everybody around you because of those marks? I mean, if they knew about them? Okay then. So since you don't want to reject yourself and you don't reject America, all right, why you got to reject anybody else just because you found something you disagree with? All right, what sense does that make? I'm going to let you sit with that question as we move on to point number 2. Today's topic, once again, is eat the meat and spit out the bones. Number 2, back in my basketball days, some players would ask me, Dre, what player do you try to pattern your game after? Who you try to play like? The answer was, and the answer still is, that I never tried to pattern my game after anybody. What I would do instead is not that I didn't look at other players. What I would do is I would take bits and pieces from any player who I liked, and I would use it as necessary. So if I like something that Kobe did, I'll take this little piece from Kobe. I like something that LeBron James did, I'll take this little piece from LeBron. I saw something that Michael Jordan did back in the day, I'll take this little piece from Michael Jordan. I'm 6 feet 4 inches tall, so in basketball I played the guard position. But I could still watch Shaquille O'Neal or Tim Duncan or Kevin Garnett. These are guys who are all 7 feet tall. I could take a piece from their game and use it if I wanted to. If I needed it, I could use it. I could even take someone who is about my size, like let's say Dwayne Wade or Derrick Rose, and I could take pieces from them and implement them into my game, even though I didn't try to be Dwayne Wade or Derrick Rose. It's probably impossible. There's only been one of each one of those guys. I would not try to be them. I would just take pieces that I could use from them. Secondly, I would like to take the best parts, if I could rather. Let's say if I could take the best parts of like 5 or 50 different players and put them all into one person, that person being me, why would I want to be one person if I could take the best pieces from 50 different people? Because no person is perfect, right? So why not just take the best pieces from a bunch of people and put them all together, and now it could be a conglomerate of the best of everybody. So I take the parts that work for me, and I leave out everything else from every player who I ever watched as a basketball player. Now here's a disclaimer to this point, because I'm just using that just to give you an example. Here's a disclaimer, and do not leave this part out. If you are following another person's system that is set up to produce a specific outcome, this does not mean you pick and choose amongst the stuff that's easy and convenient while leaving out the stuff that's challenging and isn't easy for you. So for example, even let's keep it in basketball. Back when I used to put up basketball videos on YouTube, I get ball players asking me stuff like, well, Dre, I heard Derrick Rose did this drill or Kyrie Irving did this part. I'm thinking about doing the same drill or workout that Kyrie Irving or Derrick Rose or whoever used to do. And they would ask me what I thought about that. And I would say to them, well, look, I get it that you look up to this player and you think this player is very good. They are very good, and you want to take a piece that you think maybe you could get a piece of their game to become your game. But here's the part that you can't get comfortable, you can't get lazy about. You can't just take the parts of what you see another person doing that are easy and convenient for you and then not do the hard stuff that they're doing. So for example, if I'm in the marketing business, I'm in the sales business these days. So if I go see somebody who's doing $100 million a year in sales, and I see one of the things that they're doing is they put on live events and they have a podcast and they got a YouTube channel and they take pictures in front of luxury vehicles, that doesn't mean I can just go start a podcast and do live events and launch a YouTube channel and then take pictures in front of cars and then say, all right, where's my $100 million a year in sales? Because what else did they do? What's the other stuff they're doing that is not so public, that is not so fun? All right, what about the fact that the time that they took to build out their follow-up system when it comes to anybody who comes to their site to buy but doesn't buy? What about all the things that they're doing for continuity to make sure that people can stay into their programs and continue to pay them money every single month? What about all the stuff that they did to build the foundation of their audience and their business that, again, doesn't get announced and doesn't get put up on Instagram because it's not sexy, but it's a big part of what their business is doing? What about all the other stuff that they're doing that doesn't get all the press and is not sexy? What about all that stuff? Because that stuff is part of their success as well. See, the challenge for many people is we see somebody who has a level of success, however you define that word, and we want to copy the things that we can see, but you don't want to copy all the other stuff. You don't want to copy the hard stuff. You just want to copy the fun stuff, the easy stuff, the sexy stuff, the front-facing stuff. What about the underneath stuff that you don't want to copy? I would tell basketball players this all the time. Yeah, you want to do the same dribbling drill that Kyrie Irving did, but what about when Kyrie Irving goes to the weight room and lifts weights? What about when Kyrie Irving wakes up at 5 in the morning and runs 3 miles in the snow before he goes to school? Did you copy that part too? Or are you just copying the parts that are easy for you? You're just copying the parts that are fun. See, this is where people get hung up, is you're only copying certain parts, and you say, well, I did the same thing that person did, but I didn't get the results. Well, no, you're lying. You didn't copy the same thing they did. You copied the parts that you wanted to do. You didn't copy everything. This is why systems matter so much, folks. The system is not just pick and choose the parts that are convenient. Systems are you copy everything. See what I'm saying here? So that's the disclaimer to this point here. Don't just pick and choose. All right. If you hire a personal trainer, for example, they might have you do some exercises that you've done before, so they come easy to you. But they're also going to have you do some exercises that are uncomfortable for you, things that you hate doing. And here's the thing, since you hired that trainer and they have a system that is designed to help you achieve an outcome, you are not allowed to pass on the stuff that you hate just because it's uncomfortable for you. This is where you got to have the mental toughness and the discipline to discern the difference between you borrowing a piece from somebody and using it, and you just picking and choosing the parts that are easy and leaving out the stuff that's hard. Okay, so there's a disclaimer to this whole concept of eating the meat and spitting out the bones. Point number 3. Today's topic, once again, is eat the meat and spit out the bones. Many people have been taught, and really they've been indoctrinated, which is even stronger than teaching, with this idea that you have to agree with everything about a person, or you got to reject them completely. That you're either all in or all out on any person, idea, ideology, etc. This is a relatively new thing, but it's been happening probably over the last less than 10 years, probably over the last 6 or 7 years. This has become a new thing. This is a foolish way of thinking that will cost you time, and is going to cost you opportunity, and it will cost you dearly in success. This idea, this thought process, what it's led to is actually the inverse of its intention. The inverse is people decide that they like something, and then they agree with everything that person says or does just because of that person. Or they decide they don't like someone, and they just disregard and reject anything that comes from that person just because of who it came from. This is like somebody hearing an idea, and they hear the idea, and then the first thing people look at, instead of looking at the value of the idea itself, first thing they look at is who said it. Because if the person who said it is somebody that they like, then they accept it. And the person who said it is somebody that they don't like, then they find a reason to reject it. All right, this is a foolish way of thinking. If you have been doing this, I suggest that you fix this foolish way of thinking, because it's costing you right now. It's costing you opportunity. A good idea can come from anywhere, folks. And a bad idea can come from anywhere. A person you like can have a bad idea, and a person you hate can have a good idea. You should not block yourself off from anything that could possibly help you achieve success, because what business are we in, folks? We're not in the business of accepting everything from one person or rejecting everything from another person. You're in the results and performance business. So anything that can help you produce results via your performance, you need to take it and use it. I don't care where it came from. I mean, that is if you're in the results business. Now, if you're in a different business, then this show is not directed towards you. I mean, you can still listen if you want to, but I'm just letting you know. I just want to let you know, make sure you're on the right train. This is a foolish way of thinking, to reject or accept anything just based on who said it. See episodes 1826 and 1827, where I talked about critical thinking. All right, you can like a person and be a fan of a person, yet still not agree with everything that person says. That's all right. There's nothing wrong with that. You can disagree with somebody and generally dislike them, but at the same time, if they make a good point, give them credit. Like, look, I don't even like this person, but what they said right there, that was smart. That was on point. You know what? I could use that. I'm going to borrow that. A critical thinker can make that statement. Non-critical thinkers are incapable of making that statement because you have your ego and your emotions out in front of your logic. This is a bad idea. What's happening with a lot of people today is that there are fewer and fewer people capable of doing either of the things that I just said as an example. You have trouble challenging or rejecting an idea from somebody because you decided that you like them, so you just blanket like anything they say or do. You find an excuse for anything, even if you think something's wrong with it, you won't say it. Or if you dislike somebody, you find a way to reject anything and everything they say or do just because you decided you're supposed to not like them. All right, this is foolish. People are deciding to be all in or all out on someone or something, usually based on a small piece of information, usually based on no information at all. You know where people are making this decision? Because somebody told you got to think that way. Oh, if you're this gender or this color or from this place, you're supposed to accept everything that this person says or does and reject everything this person over here says or does. That's foolish. That's dumb. Who told you that? Whoever told you that, stop listening to them. I don't care who it was. It might have been somebody you know, like, and trust. So you should stop liking and trusting them. All right? Or actually, no, keep knowing and liking them. Stop trusting them. That's what you should stop doing. Keep knowing them, keep liking them, just don't trust them. All right? I said it. You can tell them I told you. Let's recap today's class, which is eat the meat and spit out the bones. Thought of this while I was on a run one day. I'm listening to gangsta rap, whose message, if taken literally, will lead to people being murdered or incarcerated. And it actually has. A lot of people don't want to accept that truth, but it is a truth. But at the same time, I've been listening to this music my entire life, while I also have the discipline that I can eat the meat and spit out the bones. I can use the music for energy when I need it and entertainment when I want to listen to it, but it doesn't mean I'm going to go and try to live it out. And this is something that a lot of people really don't have this, I'm not even going to call it intelligence, they don't have the discipline to separate the two. And that's what we're talking about here today. Point number one, You need not fully agree with 100% with a person, place, thing, idea, or ideology to be a fan, supporter, or to extract value from it. You can get value from anywhere or anything. Take the parts that work and discard everything else. Like I told you in episode 1232, there's value you can get from Donald Trump's approach and how he built an audience and how he conducts himself and how he is virtually immune to criticism. A lot of people could, just from that point alone, a lot of people could benefit if they could implement that into their lives. But because I told you it came from Donald Trump, a lot of people are going to reject it, and that is a stupid way of thinking. Point number 2. Back in my basketball days, some players would ask me what players I try to pattern my game after, and I didn't pattern my game after anybody. What I would do is grab the meat that I could get from any player that I liked. If I saw something that I could use, I would take this piece, let me take that, and I would put it all together into what I wanted to be. And it didn't matter who it came from. It didn't matter what the player was. The player could be way bigger than me, way smaller than me. It didn't matter. If I saw something they did that I could use, I would implement that into my game and try to make me be the best version of me. But I didn't try to be another person, because nobody could be me better than I can. Secondly, I would like, if I could take the best pieces from a bunch of people and put them all together, why would I try to be anybody else? I mean, again, and here's the disclaimer. If you're following somebody's system that is set up to produce a specific outcome, you don't get to spit out the parts that you don't like. All right, you decide to follow somebody's system, like you hire a personal trainer, everything that trainer tells you to do, you do it. All right, even the stuff that you don't like doing, you do it because you signed up with them, which means you entrusted them to direct you. So follow their pattern, be coachable. Point number 3. Many people have been indoctrinated with this idea that you have to agree with everything about a person or reject everything about a person. This is a foolish way of thinking. Okay, what it's led to is that people deciding that they're just going to accept or turn off anything that another person says or does just because of that person. This is a failure in critical thinking, like I talked about in episodes 1826 and 1827. You can like somebody yet not agree with everything they say or do, and you can dislike somebody yet agree with something that they say or do. All right, what's happening today, we got fewer and fewer people capable of doing this, and you need to fix that. And whoever taught you this foolish mindset, keep knowing them, keep liking them, and stop trusting them. All that said, text me to get my motivation text whenever I'm going to be sending it out. My number is 305-384-6894. And for you entrepreneurs, if you're at the 6-figure level and you want to get to the 7-figure level in your business, understand that you're not going to get there just by hard working your way through it. Like you got 6 figures through hard work. Hard work is not going to take you to the next level. There's a system and process you need to get to the next level. And you probably already know that. You just haven't done anything about it yet. So go to workonyourgame.net, watch my free training on that. And at the end of that training, I'll tell you how to schedule a call with me. We can talk about how we'll implement this into your business. That's again at workonyourgame.net. Work on your game. Dre all day.